Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Savannah back. So, Savannah, welcome back.
Hi, I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to have you. So, Savannah, can you please remind those who haven't seen our past interviews what your full type is?
Okay, so I am an ENTJ jumper. I am visual, so it means I am FM, and I am TESE, play, blast, sleep, consume.
Okay, awesome. So, it's been a minute since our first interview, and of course, we had like some panel ones that we did in between. But
Oh yeah, that was fun.
yeah, for sure. I actually want to ask you some stuff about that also later on. But what has your journey been like since our first interview long time ago, working on your SF consume last double feminine?
Um, yeah. Okay, so when we went did our interview, looking back, I kind of realized that I was still getting through the darkness and trying to figure out new habits to break through those. Yeah, I mean, we still have our default algorithm, and sometimes when things get hard again, we go back to that savior addiction. And so I was still working on trying to build habits where yeah, take in information and new experiences and reflect on that being who I am as well. And kind of being, I mean, I look at it now as like a well-rounded person, but at the time, I felt like I had to re-get to know myself and embrace the darkness more than I was. Like there are times where I even can look back a few years ago where I was still extremely uncomfortable being um I guess embracing, sadness and pain. And now I can see that because I've worked on that consume and it's become a part of my identity that I can embrace all new things, good and bad. And I have a lot of peace now. And because I have a habit of really looking at things. And obviously my consume is still gonna be tied to my sleep. I can't help it. I have to go and process while I'm taking in new information, new experiences, new I mean, sometimes it is like a little bit of a new identity based on what's going on, but I just can take on any challenge and I can be at peace with it. I mean, it's hard. I've gone through something traumatic relating my with one of my children, and it wasn't easy, but I knew that I needed to take the responsibility to really look at the darkness and really dig in and understand myself from this situation. It wasn't about me, but why am I emotional? Why am I responding this way? And what can I learn from it for myself and for my children and for other people, right? If it comes up, I can explain it in a healthy way.
I love your blast, by the way. It's so good. Um, it's double masculine,
Thanks.
so I guess it's like very confident when you do pull that out of your back pocket. Um, So just to clarify, would you say that before part of your consume last is you're trying to avoid seeing the darkness, and but then as a result, you also don't see the good. So you're blocking both essentially, but now you're at peace with both. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes, that's definitely, yeah. And yeah, taking in new experiences as a consume last used to be terrifying, right? Or like it'd be too much. Like it felt like this is a hose of new information, new experiences, new, sensory, new pain, new joy. All of it was too much and an overload. And now I have worked on being more balanced in that receiving, you know?
Right. So when we did the panel interview with Jeanette, I noticed something very interesting between the both of you when you guys were taking turns talking. And it kind of ties to what you just said also with the consume and whatnot. So you're an interesting type because you're an EJ EP, but you're consume last. So it's weird because like
Yeah.
you're gathering a lot, but then you're not absorbing what you're gathering, you know? 'Cause it's really odd.
Yeah.
So when we were doing that interview together with the standard versus uh jumper ENTJ types, I noticed that you were actually like absorbing a lot of stuff that was going on during the interview. I don't know if you were I don't know if you were absorbing it, but you were gathering for sure. Like you were like intently gathering. And I noticed that Jeanette had a harder time actually like consuming from the tribe than you did. Like you seem to have it a lot easier than her, just like seeing you guys both in action. Um, how do you feel though about like absorbing though? Like aside, you are gathering, but are you actually like taking it into your being when you're taking that information, or is it kind of like difficult to pierce through, you know, like what you've gathered?
Um, so I mean, my favorite way to consume is through play. I love learning from other people. It just helps me narrow down what I should consume for myself. If someone's consuming in a wider variety, like I can almost kind of glean from them. So I really enjoy using play as a consume cheat as well. And then the way that I wouldn't, okay, so if I am cheating and I'm not taking action steps toward what's the right way to do that, it would be to um, sleep process, what can I take in for me and how can I explore that further in that correct direction, right? So there's a narrowing down from taking in from other people that is like a huge advantage to me in my opinion. I feel like it's like my life cheat, hack, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But if I don't, like if I didn't sit down after that interview and kind of process things that I'm learning from someone else's perspective or what they're taking in or what they're doing that's different than me that I can like learn from, just in general, different perspectives, different ideas, different ways of living. I don't know. I'm trying to be broad here, but um then it would just kind of go away, or I'd store it in a back pocket and then I just have like metaphorically a huge bag full of things I could tap into, but I never did. It's like when someone gives you a gift and you never open it, or you just keep the tags on your new clothes. Like that is like cheap consuming, but it's not really consuming.
Right.
Consume is also putting it on and wearing it. And now this is my new outfit and I look great in green. You know what I mean? I'm kidding. I've had this for years, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I interviewed this girl. Her name is Janie. She's an ESFP, but she's play blast, consume sleep. So kind of similar to you, but except that she's sleep last as opposed to consume last. And she had consumed third. And from what she said during my panel interview with her, and I did like an ESFP panel interview, also kind of like what I did with you. Um, it's like she'll buy a bunch of stuff because of like the be still a gatherer, but she won't like do
Right.
anything with the stuff. So she won't like savor the things that she have gathered, you know. So I feel like for you,
Mhm.
you're gathering information, but I think you're based on what you said, it sounds like your sleep is prioritizing to see if you want to investigate further or not for your own personal
Yeah.
consume. So what have you gathered from the tribe where you're like, you know what, and then you sleep process it and you're like, you know what, this does I do want to investigate further for myself. Like could you be able to share something about that?
Okay, so well, I'll just say that before I really did the work and went through the darkness, I was just trying on, okay, see, I'm sorry, I'm speaking in metaphors, but trying on shirts or clothes that didn't fit, right? Because it worked for this guy, it worked for that guy. Okay, well, if I do the shortcut and just use what they have, then I have a closet full of clothes that don't fit, and none of them fit me properly, right? So I needed to do the work, understand myself deeply, know what fits me correctly to have the proper consume. And then you do see, I love just, okay. because I really have always loved having consumed friends that just like savor the things that fit the best. You'll see how they are aware of details of an item, and they just appreciate. I it's hard to, because okay, consume is so nuanced. I keep using items as an example, but it's also a lifestyle or a place you live or going on vacation or um like I am an artist. Am I an artist? Am I doing the art? Is this my lifestyle? Is this part of my identity? You put it on in a way that it's true in your life. And if you're not consuming, you're putting on costumes that kind of don't fit. You know what I mean? So that is something that I've learned from, I don't know. I just love this. It's so fun to study people in this community who were types. Like I found more benefits from after I studied in the class to learning that like, oh, I can understand nuances from people if they're already typed and we talk. And I can just understand how they're wired and what I'm not doing, right? What am I not doing? Because we really just forget this last thing is important and it should be a regular habit instead of putting it off. So lifestyle choices create different habits, I guess.
Speaking of which, since you brought it up, how does it feel like to talk to other like jumper ENTJs in the community? Like, is it like a weird feeling to do that? Because it's like kind of like a mirror-ish. I mean, yeah, so I'm kind of curious. I mean, for me, it's always been kind of, interesting when I talk to like another jumper ENFP, like it's a little bit like I'm like we are like kind of the same, but it's kind of weird. Like how do you feel personally when that happens?
um, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to describe it because there is something where it's like, oh wow, we almost said the same thing at the same time. And then there's like a sisterly feeling. And I always feel like an instant loyalty when I can kind of understand people. I speak visually. I do. Like sometimes people find it strange. Um, and so if I can connect with someone else who's like, oh, they're seeing what I'm trying to convey in my words as well, then it just feels like it's just smooth sailing to talk. But I will say this, I have a hard time if I feel redundant. So if there's a group dynamic and there are two of me, I just feel like I don't really need to be there.
Oh, I see. But is it because you feel like you're not special in that case, or is it because of something else?
um,
Like,
I think part of it has to do with having such a strong blast. I'm a double masculine TE and I
yeah,
blaster
yeah,
and it's double activated. So
yeah.
that is a lot. So if they don't need that, they don't need two of them. You know what I mean? And so maybe I will adjust and really push more on the play role. Like, how can we all just meld together and we'll follow the leader? But I am still always, I can't help it, okay? I'm always going to be at least middle management in whatever I'm doing.
Right.
I am I'm a strong leader, but I can be a follower too. But if I don't have if there's not a need for my role, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. Like when it
Oh,
matters, when it's like a dynamic, you know.
I see. So you want to be useful because like if there's two
Yeah,
of you, then it's almost like, oh, you don't need two of us. You only need one of us kind of deal.
you're right. That's probably the TE usefulness thing. I
Right.
want to be really useful. That's from Thomas the Train. My son used to say that all the time.
It's funny. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a visual ENTJ jumper also, and like he actually wrote a book called Be Useful. So, you know,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
literally
we're all
called
just
Be
following the same
Useful.
algorithm. Be
Yeah,
useful.
exactly. Yeah. Speaking of middle management, you think that you are a social type two, and everyone else kind of in the community have discussed this with you. And
Yeah.
I think you said at first you thought you were a three, but like two seems to fit better for you.
Oh, I thought it was a 4 maybe.
Oh, four, sorry. Okay.
I'm just such a people person. Yeah.
Yeah. But then
I'm
you
a
were,
people person.
yes, you're definitely high friends because you have lots of friends in the community. But the word that you used just now is middle management, and that's like number two land, right? Um, you know,
Yeah.
essentially, like you still have high friends, but you still want to do the work. Like it's still the work is still
Yeah.
important. Number two is just a little bit funny because they feel very TIFE, almost like an ISTP or INTP, because like they'll do the work and then they'll have a
Mhm.
tribe jubilee after. It's like
Yeah.
really weird, because of the work and friends coin there. But I want to hear from you personally. So, number twos tend to take on too many things and put it on their shoulders than they should be
Mhm.
doing, like way too much, right? Now you are energy dumb,
Yeah.
so maybe you can explain how you're managing that. But how do you personally experience that in your life being like a number two, just carrying on way too much stuff, like just doing way too many things?
Well, I am a gather savior, and I don't know. I mean, this subject is kind of embarrassing because I love being involved. I love to help out with anything. And I used to, oh man, I actually think the very first time I reached out to Shan, I was talking about being overwhelmed by being in too many communities and having too many responsibilities. And I did that to myself, okay? But I mean, the right thing to do is just to focus on the amount you can handle. And like logically, duh, of course.
Right.
But I just want to be involved. I want to help. I'll come early. I'll stack chairs. I'll make a casserole. I will. Do you need me to introduce people? I'll get out in front on the mic. Um, are we game planning? I can have a list ready. I'm not even a list maker, but you know what I mean? Like I will do the work. I'll be there. And I'm not as organized. I need it's just funny. This is kind of I don't know. I just look at previous me and healthier me where I take full ownership of everything I commit to versus like I used to have a group of friends who would follow me around and I could delegate things to, and they were a blast and we had so much fun. But they were taking care of the the SI for me, or the details, the planning a little better, the organizing, the things I would forget. They'd pick up after me when I would leave a I don't know, pile of things. I'm kidding, but like it's kind of metaphorical where they would like help me be a better leader because they were picking up the pieces I left. And it worked really well. I can be a very cohesive leader if I have a really good team with me, but life has changed where sometimes you don't have those people following you around all the time, or they're not loving just being the detailed person. They have their own thing they're working on. And so I've had to figure out how to be more organized and only take on the things that I need or be a supportive role to people who have a bigger vision, a bigger picture of what they're doing. Um, okay, should I use like a real example of my life right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I am an art teacher. And I teach 3 classes once a week with a homeschool community. And one of my best friends is the band teacher, and she started the group. And so not only like do I have this role where I teach kids who are like neurodivergent or gifted, right? So I have like out of the box children and different needs. And then I have a team who helps me set up, tear down, um, put supplies in kids' hands, clean up, and then I can just connect with kids and teach and find out what could get them excited about art and how they could kind of connect with that material. So there's an element of me working on a specialization, but it still is because I have help from other people. But this friend who's the band director is the one who convinced me to be in this bigger circle of community, you know?
Gotcha. I see how you're being the number two now, like delegating roles to people and kind of feeling a little bit, I wouldn't say helpless, but maybe a little bit helpless when they're missing, you know, and you're all alone. So it's definitely easier
Uh,
when you have like a team that you can collaborate with as opposed to you being like the solo person, like the specialist would be doing. Um,
yeah.
it's also cool to hear that you're doing the art teacher thing because like last time we spoke, I don't think you were doing that yet, you know? Like I think you were just homeschooling.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
how are you enjoying it?
Oh, I love it. It is a blast. It is so much fun. I'm trying to figure out how to do more classes and do more advanced type things. And people are asking me, can you do like summer tutorials? And I'll probably do a card making with watercolor. Um, I don't know what they call it, like a pop-up lesson. Um, but the more I teach, the more interest there is to do more in this area. And it is pretty special that I do have a niche where I I'm better with kids who are out of the box. You know, there if there are kids that just are very used to a list and you copy the example, or they are already doing art and they just kind of like it a certain way versus like working with neurodivergent or yeah gifted kids who just really are self-starters and just want to create in a different way than linear. Does that make sense? And I don't know, I forgot what I was saying. I'm having a blast.
No pun intended, being a double activated blast. Um, yeah, no, I get what you're saying totally. Like you probably have like a lot of like NE kids, you know, with like ADHD and stuff. Um, yeah, like I got diagnosed with ADHD just like last year. Like I'm like, you know,
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty old when I got diagnosed with it, you know. So yeah, I wish I had like
I
a
hear you.
teacher like you when I was a kid, because then like, you know, obviously I don't operate like the like how normal you know, people would, you know. So yeah, I mean it's good that they have those programs now, I think, like for people kids who are like neurodivergent, because then they don't operate like the same way as like the neurotypical individuals do, right? Like there's like different ways of
Right.
yeah, so it's really good. And like, you know, a lot yeah, a lot of people that are neurodivergent, they are good at a lot of stuff. It's just like they have to learn
Yeah.
in a different way. So someone has to foster them to what do they call it, cultivate their talents. So I think it's really what you're doing, I think, is really important. So I think that it's good that you're doing what you're doing, because I think you're doing an important job, like, you know, fostering the next generation of people, especially the ones that, you know, do need like a different methodology. And it's good that you're also like an EP.
Right.
You're like an EJ EP, so you're chaotic too. So you're cool with the
Yeah.
chaos and stuff. Um,
Oh yeah.
and I think when you said that you have like an advantage too, I think you do as an art teacher just because you're visual, you know, and then you're high blast. So I think that really helps with teaching this kind of stuff, you know, especially because visual people are not as common, right, as like the other types. So like you definitely
Yeah.
have a competitive advantage in that sense. And then
It's
you
nice
also,
to feel like it's normal in that one realm, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally normal. Yeah, yeah. Um, I was also curious about what you said earlier, like, you know, you don't have a problem being the support role if you know the person you're working with has like a bigger vision than you when it comes to this. Hence
Hmm.
why you're not a number one, you're a number two, right? Um,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious though, what is your interaction like with Shan? Because you're both the same in a way. You're both like the visual ENTJ type, except she's blast last and you're like double activated blast, but she's like a number one. So like what like I'm kind of curious what that interaction is like. Do you like look up to her as like your like older sister or something? Like
Oh yeah, I love Shan. She's wonderful. Um, she is so encouraging. But I would say when I have, okay, because we've done different phone calls, and she has been kind of a mentor to me, especially when, I mean, it's almost, okay, it's almost semi-miraculous that I found OPS when I did, because I was in the darkness, scrambling to figure out the way out, right? And I was like, I don't care if this hurts. I got to figure out how to, solve it. So I was like being a little NT addicted person. And her guidance was so encouraging, but you could tell, okay, so the difference, well, I shouldn't say difference. Yes, we're very similar and it's a blast. Sometimes we just laugh a lot. Um, but she has done the work and studied what she's going to say, and she has things prepared. And then when she gets blasting, you can tell it is very similar to mine. And then it just clicks because it's the same language.
right.
She can explain it in a way that I can hear it just wonderfully, to the point where it's like, oh, is this me from another alternate universe?
Yeah.
But I have seen that there are times where I have to hold back because I'm just such a talker, and I have to make sure that I am um not trying to blast because I want to learn, you
Right.
know? So I have to just keep myself in check because I can see how there are times where, and I mean, I've lived this life my entire life, right? I have always had this blast, and I've always had to learn to keep it in check in the right times. Because if I get going, it's like, hey, you know,
Oh, I think you got your audio got kind of cut off there, like the last few seconds. I didn't hear what you said.
oh, it's like a train. It's very powerful. And so if I start like a full blast, even if it's short, I want to get to the end of the idea. And sometimes I have to put on the brakes.
I see. You know, Savannah, I do notice you also use a lot of play though. Like you do the super train blast that you're describing for sure. Like I know when you're doing it because it's like I'm gonna say this, no one is can talk. Okay, I'm gonna finish this and then we can do the play after. You know, so I can get
Yeah.
I can sense that for you for sure, like 100%. Um, it's always so interesting when someone uses their double masculine animals. Like it almost like takes over, you know. And then yeah, it just takes over. It's so interesting. Like for me, I have double masculine sleep, right? So I don't use it doesn't come out often, especially when I'm doing interviews. But like I do notice like for me, because I'm double feminine play, I'm like when even when I'm walking, I remember when I was like a teenager, I'm walking through like high school hallways and stuff. And I'm like, why am I weaving around people all the time? And I'm like, oh, like now that I know about OPS, I'm double feminine play. So when it comes to the tribe, I'm like so flexible. Like even right now, I notice like if I'm walking in a mall, like I cannot, if I'm walking like towards someone, I'm gonna be the person weaving, unless the
Oh,
other person is also double feminine, like then we'll
and
weave around each other, right? So yeah,
then you run into each other.
no, we'll weave. Yeah, because and I've always thought it was so weird. Like, I'm like, why is it like you're double feminine? Like, yours is double feminine consume, right? So you're gonna be super movable when it comes to that. But for
Yes.
me, it's like play. So, like, when it comes to the tribe, I'm like, I cannot stop weaving, around people. But if I do get like triggered emotionally and a double masculine sleep comes out, I'm not gonna move for anyone. And it's so aggressive. So it's always interesting like how that looks when it does come when it comes out. For you, it's in a savior state. So like, when you're explaining this stuff, I'm like, okay, this is like Savannah blast time. It needs to be respected. If not, you're gonna get bulldozed. So let's just um but it's all good. But I want to ask you about the something also interesting about your social type though. So blast activates specialists and consume activates generalists. But you have consume last and you have double activated
Yeah.
blast. So you're double activating your specialist coin, and then there's no activation on the generalist. Essentially, it's also double feminine to make it even harder, right? So would you say you feel a little bit of a cognitive dissonance as a result, and maybe that's why you felt like you were number four, because number fours have friends and specialists?
Yes. Yes.
Can you share how your experience with that then? Having that weird cognitive dissonance inside you.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's definitely an element of DE-ism too, where it's like I do want to please the tribe, even if I want to focus on these things. Like I wouldn't say daily, but very often I'll have like a goal of doing something, and it always includes blast and sleep, right? It's like the specialist type of thing, even if it's like I just want this one thing done, and I inadvertently my brain starts building toward that, which maybe is like a specialist type thing to do, and I am constantly frustrated because I feel like in order to do it, I need a little bit of help, or I need somebody else to help me, or I need people to go away. That's not really the
Yeah.
answer either, because I constantly live with a tribe, and I'm constantly putting people around me in general. So it's like I've done this to myself. What was I expecting? I'm not going to get anywhere with what I'm trying to do. And that's not always, but that is generally the cognitive dissonance that happens. And then I also want to please people, so I'm not doubling down on what I want to do. And that is hard because I wish, yeah, I guess the EJism a little bit is like, well, you can't do what you want anyway, or something. It's silly. It doesn't really make sense, but I have to kind of zoom out and look at like, okay, let's just try to focus on one thing in the week that I can basically specialize in, right?
Right.
That I can focus on with a project and a goal. And then if I focus on just the one thing all week, then I'm not as disappointed either. But I get really bummed when I had this big plan in my head of how things were going to go. And then it didn't work out. And I really did need help from other people to make it happen. But I don't know what the word is. Take control. Yeah, that's what it is. Like take control of the situation.
Oh, I see. What does that voice what is that voice that you said earlier that you can't do it anyways or something, or you're not allowed? Like
Yeah.
what is the form of that, that being that's telling you this? Is it is it like an image of that, or is it a voice? Like that's telling you you're not allowed, or you can't do this, or it's not gonna work anyways. Like what is that? What does that look like for you?
Good question. I think it probably is a picture of darkness, and then it's tied to a feeling, and then the words come out.
The darkness, does it have an image, like an appearance, or is it just like blackness, or
It's
is
like
it a
it's
shadow?
like when you're working on an artwork and then you messed it up and then it turns brown or something. So it's like
Like a smudge?
a paintbrush scribble over something beautiful that's gray.
And then that's the one communicating to you, all saying all this stuff to you
Mm-hmm.
that you can't do. Like that's actually what it looks like.
Well, I interpret it and then it comes out in words, but the language is just art.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I wanted to hear your perspective because you are visual, right? So I wanted to see what the visual
Mhm.
representation of this, because obviously if you were audio, it would be like whispers in your ear, right?
Yeah.
No? So-
And it's like a feeling, like when I was a kid and I was trying to make something and then it got ruined. So my brain sees that same image, and then the interpretation of that experience comes out with, well, I can't always do what I want anyway. It's not going to work out. Or, there's too many challenges uphill to really get there.
Oh, I see. So that smudge is self-doubt then. That's what it is.
Oh. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And also because you're not a number one, because I think with the number ones, they can give that self-doubt a middle finger, you know? And they'll still like bulldoze literally like through it, you know? Maybe that's
Yeah.
something you could learn from the number ones, is like when the self-doubt comes in, you
It
just
could be.
give them the bird, and you know, I'm gonna do it anyways. Yes, it might not work, but
Yeah.
I won't know if I don't
And
try.
how do you do it without disrupting the like harmony? Like sometimes I think that I see other people, I don't know. I'm not trying to pass judgment at all on this, but I'm just saying like there are times where I've seen when someone does specialize, sometimes they're leaving the tribe high and dry, and I don't want to disrupt the harmony or disappoint people, I guess.
I think the best way to look at it is, um you are helping the tribe more by not helping them. It's weird to say that, but like,
Okay, so this
um
is the TE savior thing where I think I can save everybody and help
exactly.
them, and they don't really need to help. They need to help themselves.
Yeah, because like for example, with my girlfriend, right? Like, um, I like, for me, it's very important for me that to, because like she grew up in an environment where her parents weren't the most supportive of her goals and dreams in life, and she was kind of like in a more traditional oppressive Asian family, where like, you know, you have like the parents and you're serving the parents. Um, their happiness comes before yours, and the reason why is
Mhm.
because they sacrifice a lot to make sure that you have a roof over your head, you have food, you went to school, and all that stuff, right? So now you have to give back by sacrificing yourself essentially for them. And then, so my girlfriend was in an environment where the only time there would be harmony is when she's doing what the parents want. And the moment she's doing something that she wants, the harmony gets messed up, even though she's just trying to upgrade herself, you know, like going back to
Yeah.
school or something as simple as going back to school. You know, she'll always hear things from her parents like, you're not gonna do well anyways, you know, like stuff like that, right? Which is like really hurtful. Um,
Yeah.
but like when we started dating, I remember like I remember she came over to my place and she was like helping me clean the dishes. And then like I think she dropped some stuff on the floor and she freaked out. She thought I was like gonna yell at her or something. I was like, it's fine, just clean it. Who
Oh,
cares? You know, that's what I said, right? I'm like, I don't give a
yeah.
shit. Just pick it up and clean it. Like, I'm not gonna get yell at you. She's like, oh, really? That's okay. I'm like, yeah, why is it? Just clean it. Who cares?
Oh,
You know?
right.
And then like I noticed like every time she's like scared to do something, like I'll look at her, I'm like, you know what? I want you to try first before I help you. Because I don't I want you to empower yourself, you know?
Mhm.
Like for example, we're in a different country. Like I remember I think it was 2 years ago, we went to Peru, and
Oh,
she really wanted to order food from this like food stand, but she was shy, you know. But I know she's been like
okay.
studying Spanish, like using Duolingo and stuff.
Oh,
And I was like, and she's like, "Can you ask for me?" I'm like, "You've been studying Duolingo. I think you really want to practice your Spanish. Why don't you try? Just try. I'm not like I'll help you, but like you try it first because I want to empower her, right?" So she tries her
yeah.
best, and you know the vendor's confused and she's confused, but I'm just watching from the sideline, and you know it's kind of entertaining too. But then later on, I came by and like, you know, assisted, but I want to make sure she did her best first before like I step in, because I as much as I want to be like, um like the hero saving other people, like
Yeah.
I feel like I think it's better if the other person does what they can first to
Mhm.
level themselves up, and then when they hit the wall, then I can come in and help out. So for her, like basically the confusion was like the lady was trying to tell her like, your bill's too big, I can't take this. Like, I don't know Spanish, but I can see from the body language that's what she's trying to say, right? And I told my
Yeah.
girlfriend, like, I think she's saying your bill's too big, give her a smaller bill. And she's like, oh, okay, and then she got her like dessert and stuff. And um but like, yeah, that's like just for me, like, as a double decider also, because like I've also experienced that where like, someone's coming to help me and I'm like, like I have relatives in like other countries where they're trying to like do everything for me, and I'm like, I'm not helpless. I can do this, But I'm like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like also at the same time respecting other people, like the tribe too, and be like, you know what? Maybe they're not helpless. Maybe they want to do it themselves. Maybe um they want to try, maybe they're too shy to try. But like I think especially you, because you're gonna be you're a teacher, right? So like I think your job is to facilitate growth,
And a
not,
mom. Yeah.
yeah, in a mom, yeah, exactly. Like not to save the day, but to like facilitate growth. And obviously you save the day like when they hit the wall, right? But like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but knowing this, like I think you would be able to give that voice a bird also, like, and then also
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about like not saving the world or saving everyone is like now you can do your hobbies, your SF consume in your case, right? It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
mean, actually, I'm kind of curious, like, if you have this free time now to do what you want, what would that be then? Because like, I know you're double activated tribe, right? But like, when you do have like the free time, finally, um, what would that hobby that you would love to really just like enjoy and savor, for yourself?
Well, I definitely would want to paint more. And then I think it'd be kind of fun to, so there's this so it's called an image consultant, and I think that would be kind of fun to do. You can get certified as an image consultant, and you just let um you basically would be able to help people revamp, how they look and present themselves the way that they would want to. I know a lot about color theory, and it would just be a really fun thing to study and to consult. And I think that would be something that I would want to do in the future if it worked out. And then, I mean, the other thing that's been kind of cool in a different direction is that a couple of times people have asked me to speak on, well, I mean, you can call it my hero's journey, where I went through darkness and hard times, and I learned that forgiveness brings so much freedom. As a decider, you know,
Right.
blaming people or myself was like the obstacle, I guess. And so practicing forgiveness and sharing how that looks as a journey as well. And it just gives so much freedom. And so I was able to speak to like over 2,000 women a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
It was a small story, but if I was asked to do more of that, I could do that as well. And that'd be a lot of fun. It was emotional. It's not hard, it's not easy to share those kinds of things when it's like deep. But it was actually really, really, really touching to be able to be so vulnerable and then have people come give feedback after about how that impacted them when they were crying.
I think
I
it's a
don't
good
know. That was
message.
kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a really good message for sure. I'm kind of curious because like I'm a little bit different from your type, where in a sense where like you have feminine FI, I have masculine FI. So I'm kind of curious
Mhm.
about like that feeling of resentment or holding a grudge on someone. Like what does that feel like for you with feminine FI? Because like from my understanding, feminine FI people forget that emotion. So it keeps maybe happening more often than you'd like because you keep forgetting that it's like it already
Yeah.
happened before. But you said that forgiveness, so that means you must have been storing it somewhere, that grudge, that resentful feeling. So where are you storing it? And like, um, how do you, what's that process like for you when you're like letting go of that like resentment and you're ready to forgive that person that like wronged you?
Um, it affects how I see myself. It sounds strange, but I I become more bitter and more Karen-like, to be honest, where I am just ready to fight the tribe. And it's too easy to want to feel like a victim. Um, and so that becomes, yeah, that bitterness gets channeled at other people as well. And that anger. start to change my attitude and my responses to people when it's like, oh, what did you mean by that? Why are you saying this? Oh, are you trying to say that I don't da 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 da? And it's all just like everything out of my mouth is still savior addiction, right? It's like, this is now my safe place if I am bitter and angry. And I have to do the work as a feminine sensor or feminine feeler as well, but to even find out where that bitterness is coming from, because I can't always pinpoint that it is because of this person and this situation. It just becomes a whole swath of like feelings and then projection, which is, it's sad, it's dark. I don't want to be a Karen. And when you heal those things in your past and you forgive and you look back on those bad situations with no feeling because you are totally healed, then you don't look at your life as a victim either. And I'm speaking more EJisms here, but that's just my journey. It's harder to look at your life in the past and then think you're a victim in a current situation if you have changed how you view that. You weren't stuck. You had choices, you had options, and you still do. And your choice can be just to forgive it and let it go, even if they're not sorry, even if they'll never reconcile with you. You can let go of the bitterness inside of you because you have choices. And you don't need to be hostage to your bitter, angry feelings anymore. It's not really who you are, you know?
So when you see that person again, there is you can honestly say there is no more of that feeling. Like you've completely let it go and there's no hostility anymore. Like it's actually like, maybe you don't love them obviously, but it's neutral at
No.
least. Yeah.
Yes. I can look them in the eye and tell myself, okay, I am a polite person. And so I will be polite and kind as if this were a stranger, right? That's my baseline. I should at least be able to greet them as if they were a stranger because I have truly forgiven them. That doesn't mean that I don't look back at the situation with hurt and disappointment,
Right.
but not anger, not bitterness anymore. And I will set boundaries with them. They're not allowed back into my life in a safe way. And that's just plain protection, but that's not out of bitterness or anger or vengefulness. That's just healthy boundaries.
Right. That makes sense. Especially, if you had a past with this person. So obviously, even if you forgive them, you don't want them to come back in because they'll be
Yeah.
it'll be poison, and then you'll
Yeah.
undo the hard work that you did essentially.
Yeah. And that's just plain not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's good that you're doing that. I think that's really hard for a lot of EJs to get to the point that you got, especially the fact that you said I don't want to be a Karen anymore. That's profound, like
Yeah.
I mean a lot of EJs don't even know they're a Karen to begin with. So the fact that you're like two or three steps ahead, of the curve, Like I thought it was kind of crazy when
Yeah.
David Chan said, "Oh, we don't want to openly talk about this outside the class, but yeah, the Karens are all EJs, um,
Yeah.
especially like the masculine DE ones, but yeah, but that's cool. That's really cool that you got to where you are right now. So like you do seem lighter, So I think like I can see the work that you put in definitely has done something for your NF vibe, right?
Yeah. I have a lot of peace. I think that sometimes people think I'm a little bit, I don't know, hippie's the wrong word, but
You are a hippie inside.
I am, yeah, but like in the good way, right?
Yeah, in a good way, of course.
And people see my happiness and my floaty demeanor sometimes, and they don't know the work that I put into to being a healthy, balanced person, and that's fine. I don't have to prove anything to them, but sometimes we see a happy person and we think, oh, they've never had to go through anything hard in their life. And you know, it is funny because it actually makes me drawn to people who've also gone through all this. because you get such a more healthy, robust friendship and relationship with people who are not afraid to talk about their darkness and talk about it in a healed way, you know?
Yeah, I think it is definitely better when you're in that position as opposed to when you're in a triggered position to discuss it. You know, it's a completely different the interaction looks a lot different depending on where you are in that state.
Yes.
So Savannah, we're gonna wrap up the interview shortly. Is there anything that you want people to learn more about you before? I know you're an EJ and you know you don't want to talk about yourself as much. But you know what? Honestly, the big thing I noticed about you versus our first interview is you're more comfortable talking about yourself now than the first time we had the interview. Yeah, yeah, that's
Cool.
yeah, it's actually a big difference. Yeah, now like I'm reflecting back, you're just definitely more comfortable talking about yourself. Like it seems like I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe you can illuminate me if so. Um, do you feel like you're more okay with just sharing yourself now? It's not like, am I not allowed? It's just like, oh, I'm a person. And people want to learn more about me too. Is that something that you've noticed about yourself, or like what does that look like for you now versus then?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think that in the past, I had walls up. I really did. I would only let people see this part of me and this part of me and this part of me. And part of what I went through, well, before even learning OPS, but just going through the darkness was kind of like realizing that I had built separate tribes for different parts of myself. And when all those walls started crashing down, I really had to realize that I didn't know myself. And then I started to kind of dig in deep and kind of try to think like, okay, um, yeah, I mean, who am I? What do I really like? What do I really want? You know, and forcing myself to really dig into those situations. So even in our interview, I think I was kind of like, I like myself, you know, just being like,
Yeah.
just like a tiny little kid, like, I like cake. I just want some cake, please. Sorry, I'm just being a goof. Um,
It's like that's the voice that Sharon
and
makes also when she makes those videos. So I thought it was kind of funny when you did that. I was like, what? You know, she does it all the time. Like it's
I
kind of
love it.
you guys, you know, your type is kind of jarring because like you have the double masculine aggressive anti-blast, and then you have like the
Yeah,
like the super feminine FI comes out, and it's like, is this the same person? You know, but like, but the crazy thing is it is they're both you, right? You know,
yeah,
so
they're both me.
yeah,
Yeah.
both you. So when I first saw it, like when Shan was doing that, I was like, this is so interesting. Like this is the same person, but like her state change, like blasting is like super aggressive, like serious, and then suddenly
Yeah,
feminine FI, you know, energy dom, you know, like messing around, laughing, and
it's true.
yeah, yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
Um, I I agree. I think it's funny, but I'm sure I still just see that little FI as like the teeny little tiny person inside me or something. But I feel like I had to mature in that specific area. And
yeah,
so what I like is nuanced. What I want is nuanced. Even that little video on YouTube where they interviewed someone who was consumed last. And I like she was laughing because she didn't know what to order um at a restaurant. And I was like, cool. I can see that I've worked on that in my life. Here's my hack, just in case any consume last if you want to know. Whatever restaurant you're going to, just kind of think, okay, if this is a new restaurant, let's try what they do best, right? Like dig into their specialization
yeah,
and just order as long as you like it, right?
right,
Try something new. If they specialize in this kind of burger or they are really big into their steak, try the sauce that they made. You know, they're famous for something. So take it in as a new experience. Try something new. And so that's, I guess it starts with a mindset change, right?
Right.
To to be able to embrace the nuances of what you could be as well as who you already are. And that is kind of consume last, right? It's like, what could I possibly be and change instead of staying the same or not taking in new unless it's like necessary.
Yeah.
You know,
That's that's a very good tip.
that's the old self.
Yeah. Last question for you, Savannah, and we'll wrap it up. Okay. So your baby FI at the bottom, is it still do you still see yourself as like the baby FI as like a baby or a kid, or do you see it like now, is it a teenager now or like a young adult, or like
I
how would
was gonna say I feel like it's a teenager now. Yeah.
is a teenager?
I would say it'll always be that small piece of me, the
Yeah.
smaller girl we want to protect, but I feel like it has matured to a teenager.
Oh God. That's a different whole host of stuff that you're gonna deal with now. Now it's a teenager.
Mood swings,
Yeah.
right?
Right. 100%. All right. Savannah, thanks again for following up with me. I know your follow-up was like months later, but
I
I'm
know.
happy you did that, and we got the chance to do this follow-up interview.
Awesome. It's so good to see you again. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. All right. Take care, Savannah.